Yeah, so I'll be talking a bit about the tariffs that has been announced by Trump. So I think on the 4th, he announced a new set of tariffs and he called it the day as the Liberation Day for the United States. And yeah, so she's talking about, so basically the main announcement, like one of the main announcement was there is going to be a 10% baseline tariff on all the goods that is entering the US from almost all the countries. And that day he said it was that to take effect on a good food. I think it is still effective. So he is this move is showing that he is moving towards protectionist point of view. So also in addition to this baseline tariff, so his administration also announced a higher reciprocal tariffs, and it is ranging from like 11% or 10% as well to 15. So I think this elevated tariffs are supposed to take effect on April 9th. And this reciprocal tariffs are specifically aimed at countries which they have identified to be having large trade deficits with the United States. So the concept of the rationale that they are presenting is that this deficits were indicative of like unfair trading practices by these nations. So that is why they are leaving reciprocal tariffs to some selected countries. So like several many trading partners, they are part of this reciprocal tariffs. Mainly it's China, who has been slotted to receive 34% reciprocal tariff. And if you add it to the existing 20% tariff, which was already imposed in the beginning of the year again. So in total, they are facing about 54% of tariff. And then there's tariffs on European Union as well, 20% tariff. India is also receiving around 26 to 27% of it. Vietnam also, then Japan is facing 24 or so, 25 to South Korea as well. So many such countries are facing reciprocal tariffs. I think only the United Kingdom, only one of the major economies is the United Kingdom, which has received only a baseline tariff of 10%. Currently. So yes, these new tariffs are significant change or like an expansion compared to how it was previous trade actions. So earlier we focus on specific sectors only, maybe like steel and aluminum, or you would probably target only specific countries. Most notably, you would only target China. But now he has extended his tariff to almost all countries. So yeah, and I think in one of the previous sessions also I talked about the tariffs where I said we had already levied tariffs on goods like steel, aluminum, and also after that we levied some tariffs on automobiles, auto parts, and I think that was at 25%. So like overall, since the beginning of his presidency, he has been doing a lot of this tariff wars. And yeah, so the major distinguishing feature compared to 10% baseline, like I already mentioned, is that they are calling this as a reciprocal tariff. So this tariff is levied to match or at least half the tariffs that is imposed by the other countries on the goods from the US also. So that is their rationale. And he is not becoming like a dictator and doing whatever he wants. There is apparently some legal basis that allows him to do this. So there's something called the International Emergency Economics Powers Act. I don't know the details of what this is, but this is their primary legal basis for applying all these tariffs. So maybe there's some, surely there will be some detailed act, since it's an act, there will be detailed documentation and stuff. But basically, I just know that this is what they are saying is the legal basis of it. There's also some methodology behind identifying how much tariffs to divide to which country, and there is some calculation and stuff inside which I will not go because I also don't really understand a part of it. But I guess basic concept of this reciprocity was quite straightforward. It is that since the other countries do it to us, we will do it to them. So the main objective was to establish, according to them, a level playing field because this are by applying or levying these high tariffs on countries which already levy high tariffs on US. But that is all from the perspective of the administrations, so Trump and his parties. But so far, whatever I've read is mostly negative news regarding or negative opinions regarding all these tariffs. And one of the main criticism or point of criticism is that there is a discrepancy between the tariff rates that is being claimed by the Trump administration and the figures from the official sources, I think by World Trade Organization or something. So, like Trump's administration is saying that the European Union imposes around 39% of tariffs on the US goods. China does 67%, from India does 52%. But the data from World Trade Organization is showing a much less percentage figures. So for EU, it is saying it is 2.7%. For China, it's 3%. And for India, it's 12%. So like it is a lot less compared to what they are claiming. So I don't know if they're blatantly lying or if there's some way they've misinterpreted or like what is the word? They're manipulating how to misinterpret the data. But yeah, that is one of the criticisms that is coming. And also criticisms regarding saying that this approach of like blatantly denying tariffs would result in unnecessary trade disputes and it will damage already existing trade relations and it will lead to trade imbalances and such. So in the short term, I think the most immediate effect that most people are concerned about is increase in inflation and consumer prices. So the position of this tariffs will directly lead to the raising in the cost of imported goods. And as I'm getting, we want to discuss previously, so mostly this increase in price will be passed on to the consumers. So this is one of the immediate concerns. And also after his announcement, I think multiple financial markets they reacted negatively. So I think a lot of stock markets around the globe will experience a decline. And that is the short-term impact. And the long-term outlook also, according to different economists, they're saying it's going to have negative impact. According to multiple economic models and forecasts and such, finding out that there could be a potential decrease in the GDP of the US. So like ranging from 0.4% to 0.9%. So like if it continues this way, there will be an overall decline in the living standards of the world's population. So on summer also, of course, hinting that there could be a recession, there could be chance of recession because of this, which it's in itself has other negative impacts for the economy. So, and so the countries in which he divide his tariffs, they also came up with their own reactions. So, for example, China, which was still one of the primary targets for all of these tariffs, have come up with its own retaliatory tariffs. So they are also imposing 34% tariffs on all the imported goods from the US. And, but the US is threatening China, saying if you do not lower this 34% irregular tariff that you're saying, then we will increase the tariff to 50% for China. So there's a lot of back and forth happening between multiple countries. So I think all the countries in which she has applied this reciprocal tariffs have reacted in some ways. I think China has reacted the most strongly. Others have also expressed their negative opinion, but I don't think they have reacted as strongly as China has. But if you think about some of the reasons why they are doing this, one key argument is that uh, is to protect the domestic industries from what they claim there's unfair competition from foreign producers because they benefit from lower labor cost or any other reasons. So that is one argument. The other is that they see this tariff as a means to address the trade imbalances and to reduce the country's trade deficit by making the imported goods more expensive. So there will be less attraction for the domestic consumers to buy those imported goods. And tariffs will also act as a source of revenue for government. And those are some of the arguments for tariffs in this scenario. One other argument is that uh, Trump's one of his goals is to bring back manufacturing to the US. So with this, he hopes maybe multiple manufacturing jobs will come back to the US, which will lead to creation of jobs and social. And it also will boost national and economic security. And finally, I think this can be used as a negotiation tactic to pressure other countries that rely on US investment. And that is some of the ways uh, the tariffs could be all. These are some of the reasons why US so adamant on having these tariffs. But there are also arguments against the use of these tariffs, which are common arguments not specific to this particular scenario. So most commonly cited concern is that it will increase prices for both businesses and best consumers. And so many economists are worried that this will result in inflation and slowdown of the overall economic growth, which will potentially lead to recession. And one of the significant drawbacks, as we have seen how China reacts, there will be retaliatory tariffs. So ultimately, cannot say how in the long term how this will play out, but I think in the immediate or short term, mostly the consumers will face all the negative consequences of such hastily on tariff schemes. That's all really I don't have to add. We have to wait and see actually if it does anything about the US law or not.
Yes. If I can see the US stock markets now. And I think so. It was announced around 2nd or 3rd of April. When was it? 2nd or was it?
Second or third April.
Yeah. So since then it has dropped quite a bit, but I think it is on its way upward. So the thing is that recently in the news, many people are talking that the drop in the stock markets, in the US stock markets, is the highest since March of 2020, the day when I think the US announced the lockdowns. I think it should be visible here. No, it isn't. But yeah, it should be visible here. Yeah, on 6th of March. So it might not look much if you look into the future, but just assume that you are in 2020. So this is 6th of March. This bottom on 28th of March, you can see this huge drop.
Yeah.
So if you look at throughout the history, it was going on the upward direction, and just before this, there was this huge drop. So something like that didn't occur since then. It's such a huge drop in such a short amount of time. It only occurred after this announcement. So this is something they have, I mean, so many people have pointed this out. But again, this is just a short-term reaction, and I don't know what's going to happen. If you look at S&P 500, same is the response is same, but again, it's coming it's
What
going
about
towards
India indexes of India?
I think it might have reacted similarly. Third, yeah, after this announcement, it dropped a bit, and then on 4th, it dropped quite a bit, and on the next week, it dropped a lot. But then again, it's coming back. So the thing is that this kind of, okay, it's falling down, but whether it's a long-term reaction or just a quick short-term effect, so that remains to be seen. And to me, it looks more likely to be a short-term reaction. I mean, in the long term, it's probably going to go up again. To me, that's what it looks like, but it remains to be seen. So the kind of arguments that you have presented, it sees that there are both sides to the argument, and yes, I mean, mostly what I've seen is criticisms, not much arguments from the other side. So I might have to look into the arguments that are made for on his behalf, on Trump's behalf. But yes, it remains to be seen how it goes on.
I think one of the reasons mostly negative opinions exist is because if it succeeds or not, immediately the burden will be on the consumer. So
Yes.
prices of things will ultimately will go up because that is how tariffs are going to work.
Mm.
And then even if it works, it will work for a small portion of the people first. Before before we see a shift of manufacturing jobs, before we see a shift of domestic production increasing, there is going to be, I think, a phase where the majority of the consumers will have to carry the burden of this tariffs.
Yeah. And that's all speaking about the American population. For the rest, for people like us, for people in India, I don't think there is any benefit to this thing. But at least for speaking from a average citizen from the US, they have to wait and watch and see what it happens to them, what it means for them in the long term. But for the rest of the country, for us, for Indians and Chinese and everyone else, I don't think it's any it will ever be a good news for rest of us. Yes, for the United States people, that remains to be seen.
I think even for China also, they are not really that dependent on foreign markets. I think And they do export a lot of their products, but the domestic market also is quite strong. Like how we've seen the rise of BYD, the EV. It has, I think, I don't know, it's close to being the top auto manufacturer, I think, in some statistics, maybe in terms of how much they produce or something.
I mean, in
But
terms
anyways,
of
this, yeah.
yeah, in terms of revenue in 2024, BYD's revenue was more than Tesla's. That was, and I think so. The sales also increased for BYD as compared to Tesla in countries, especially in China. It definitely increased, but as well as in countries in European countries too. BYD's sales were more than Tesla's, and their overall revenue was also more than Tesla's. So that was a very important news a few weeks back. So that was highlighting about yet another problem with Elon Musk, that him being a part of the government now and is taking away much of his attention from his core business areas, and it's hurting this thing, and so on. That was the narrative. But anyways, the other point of view was that BYD and Chinese companies are definitely going up. But then again, if you talk about certain, for example, in semiconductors, even though they have TSMC, but at the same time, the raw materials that are required for manufacturing of semiconductors, I think so most of the reserves are outside of China. They do have certain critical raw materials. I mean, whatever the minerals or whatever is required. There are certain things that are only exclusive to China. I mean, they are not found anything, even if they are found anywhere else, but China has majority of the deposits there. But there are certain other raw materials that are not available to them. So they will have to be dependent on other countries for at least some sort of raw material such as that. But anyways, overall, your point is, it makes sense that they are less dependent on the for most of the things with from European countries or the US. Okay. Yes, let's move on to some topics. Okay, so there was a news about OpenAI. They raised another round of funding, about $40 billion worth of funding, and now they are valued at about $300 billion. So, and I think so a few weeks before that, I think it was in February or early March, Anthropic also had their own round of funding, and now they are valued at about 62 billion or something. So these AI companies are being valued quite high. I mean, now I'm not talking high in terms of overvalued, but they are rising quite up the ladders in terms of private companies. I think I have think I have a chart that I can show. Yeah, so this is these are the top 10 most valuable private companies right now. And there's another chart. I would like to cross verify both of them. To okay. This is the updated one. I think so, because it is released later than this one. So I think I'll refer to this one. So yeah, you can see that after their recent funding, I think so it took just a few days ago. So I think it will be finalized. Okay, it took place until March 27th. So just 10 days ago. Now they are valued at $300 billion. So they are second only to SpaceX. Only SpaceX is the private company that's more valued than OpenAI. And SpaceX has been around since 2002, I think so. Yeah. So they have, I mean, okay. So far, OpenAI has raised $141 billion so far. And I'm not sure how accurate this number is about SpaceX. It's written that it has raised only $14.9 billion. So from some other sources, I found that they have raised about $122 billion so far. And that seems to be
SpaceX.
Yes, and that seems to be much more. It makes sense because it's even more expensive industry. It's all about hardware. There is software, but the hardware requirements are way more than a software company. Like, as much as people talk about how hardware intensive AI is, a space company, I'm sure it's, if not more, at least as much as it requires as much investment in hardware as an AI company, because it's all about rockets and it's a hardware. It's all about hardware. So it's impossible that for the last 22 years they only raised $14.9 billion. So
what when they say raised, what do they mean? The government grants and everything is also considered, because SpaceX might have received government grants and stuff. And
yes,
contracts of NASA and those things also.
okay, let me make sure. $9.7 billion. It's even less than what's written there. 14.9. Yeah.
If you go down, there is one line saying they have raised 100 something in funding. Not this AI one, but the actual article.
Which one?
Go down. Yeah, this highlighted. The company has secured funding across 12 rounds and is valued at 137. But this is even older.
I think that, let me look at Crunchbase. Total amount of funding. Why do I have to do so much? I can't select, I can't do anything. Total funding amount $11.8 billion. So it is $11.8 billion.
So does it also mention in which, like, what situation and who invested this amount? And
including all the grants. If you talked about grants, so grants, SpaceX, secondary market, debt financing, Series B, secondary. So yes, including grants, everything. So it's only $11.8 billion. So again, coming back to this, if we look at Anthropic, even Anthropic has $72.5 billion. Grok has more. This company was founded 3 years or 2 years ago. It has raised more than SpaceX. Okay, so
Here
maybe
it mentions 14.9. So where is the next $3 billion compared to Cosmos?
I don't know what source he has used here. I don't know what this one is. Source, position to that. These are different curation, new data for private markets. Okay, this is, you have to get to wait list. This is a new company or something. But Crunchbase is considered to be one of the most reliable sources for private company data. So as per this, if it says that 11.8, so it's as good as it gets in terms of reliability. So either 11 or 14, 11, 14, still it's 10 times less than OpenAI. Okay. That means I will have to look more into the business model in the internal working about of a space company versus an AI company. That's something to look into. But anyway, yeah, these are the two recent developments. OpenAI is announced for raising funds of 40 billion at 300 billion valuation, and Anthropic also on 11th of March. Last known valuation, yes, $60 billion valuation, and total money they have raised is $72.5 billion. Okay, I think Andrew is also here. How much is its valuation? 28 billion, 6.9 billion. Okay. And speaking of, yeah, about OpenAI's funding, that's all I had to say. Nothing more. Just the development, what's going on in this industry. And speaking of OpenAI, there is another company called CoreWeave. I think, and I have also written about this recently. So this is a cloud computing platform. So, so we all know that there are companies like when you talk about cloud computing, there are these big three companies that most people know about: AWS, Azure, and GCP, Google Cloud Platform. But the thing is that they are very general purpose. So these companies emerged during the phase when the trend of the companies using cloud for their services, when that trend was emerging. So before that, it was all in-house. So companies had their own servers. Then came this trend of cloud computing, where people rented, instead of having their own in-house servers, people rented it out. So these companies rose from as a result of those demands and from that era. And though they still provide GPUs and everything, since they are general purpose, they cannot they do not have this flexibility to provide services to AI-specific training and an AI-specific workload. So because of this, a new generation of a new kind of companies emerged. So CoreWeave is one of them. So the thing is that this company was founded in 2017. And initially, it used this GPU for Bitcoin mining or cryptocurrency mining. That was their original purpose. But later on, when after 2022, when this generative AI boom arrived, they shifted. And I'm not sure whether that was the moment or a few years earlier than that. But eventually, they went from mainly focusing on cryptocurrency mining to now focusing on providing GPUs specifically for AI related workloads. So what they do is, so there are companies like NVIDIA, which produces this hardware that are specifically used for training AI foundation models and various kind of AI related workloads. Now the thing is that how does a customer or how does a company or how does a research institute access NVIDIA's hardware? So yeah, one way is definitely to buy directly, but the more practical way is to use those GPU instances through a cloud platform. So NVIDIA sells it to some cloud platforms like AWS, Amazon. I mean, they're the same thing, Azure or this kind of new generation of cloud computing companies. And from them, the other people, the research institutes or the other AI companies, they then buy those GPU instances from from companies like CoreWeave. So that is the business model of CoreWeave. And
so they provide GPUs to the bigger cloud computing companies.
The bigger, I mean, see, 62% of their revenue comes from Microsoft. I mean, they rent it to Microsoft.
They
But
rent the GPU or
yes,
the cloud computing platform as well.
Yes. I mean, the cloud computing platform as a whole. I mean, not directly the GPU, but through the cloud computing platform. So that's their model. And even though they are the biggest, I would say, the customer Microsoft, but there are other customers as well. So one of the concerns that I was going through that many analysts were mentioning as I was researching this company was that it's very highly concentrated, because if one company has 62% of its revenue that comes from just one customer, that means it's very fragmented. The opposite of fragmented, concentrated. But anyways, the point is that there are other companies as well, but those are mostly other big companies like IBM, Meta, and those are the companies that are CoreWeave's customers right now. But in the future, they are hoping that there will be other smaller companies that will also catch up to them. So, I mean, that's in the same way that right now, for example, everyone has a website. So everyone would want to, every small company now might need access to AWS or Azure for hosting their website or anything. So they are hoping that in the future, when AI will be even more proliferation, means the rate of proliferation will be even more, then their customer base will broaden. They will have a wider base of customer. So that's their future, I mean, long-term hope. But right now, yes, their customers are mostly other big firms. Let me see, what else have I written here? Yeah, as I've said, it specializes in GPU accelerated cloud infrastructure. Okay. So as I've said, they are much more specialized as opposed to those general purpose cloud computing companies. But but CoreWeave has its own set of competitors that are also specialized in GPU accelerated hardware for AI specific workloads. So these are some of the companies: Lambda, Cerebras, and Ethir. So they offer similar kind of services. And as you asked, who are their customers? So these are not the customers, but this would be the potential set of customers. So if there's a AI or ML startup that requires high compute for training AI models or AI inference, those are the kind of people, those are the kind of companies that would be an ideal customer for CoreWeave. and so on and so forth. I mentioned all of those. And one of the key things about CoreWeave is that since they are very specialized, they are very specialized in only one kind of services that they provide, unlike AWS, which provides a wide range of services. Since they specialize, they can also reduce their cost. So I'll say to rent or to get a NVIDIA hardware through CoreWeave is much more cheaper as compared to taking it from a much more from a company like from a company like Azure or AWS. It's much more cheaper.
Shouldn't it be the opposite actually? Because the other bigger cloud platforms, they will have a wider user base. They could spread out the cost among services. Here, since they only provide GPU services,
Yes.
so they get a higher revenue or similar revenue compared to Amazon. They would have to charge each customer higher because they only provide one service.
Yeah, but at the same time,
Yeah.
right now, if you want to acquire new customers right now, so one thing you can do is you can charge less for the same thing. If you are competing, if you are entering a new market, and if you want to compete with your customers, what can you do? If you charge less, and the thing is that they can charge less because they can optimize their workflows. But because they are so because AWS is so general purpose, it cannot optimize their hardware for just AI training.
But they have some specific services like for GPU training only, like
Yes.
just searching there, what is it called? SageMaker.
Yeah.
Amazon SageMaker, Amazon Bedrock are on this specific for AI.
Yes, they are. But at the same time, if you, yes, they do have those services. But the fact that they are using the same they have their own set of hardware, and they are fragmenting it into various different services. So for that, they will have to incur more cost. They cannot highly optimize those things. Even if they highly optimize this, okay, suppose even SageMaker's services is highly optimized for AI training, but to make those necessary changes, they would also have to make up for that. They would also have to make it profitable, that specific area. Unlike CoreWeave, because they are only focusing on one area, they can now they have more opportunity to create certain kind of technical changes that someone who is more general won't be able to do it. I mean, if I have to give an example, let me think of a simpler example. Okay. Suppose there are certain shops. Even here, there is a shop that only sells egg rolls or chicken rolls, nothing else, only egg rolls. So the thing is that maybe there could be a shop that is adjacent to it that has 100 different items, but because but this egg roll shop is so hyper focused on egg rolls, and their whole business revolves around it, they can choose to optimize their process for egg rolls, specifically optimized, so their quality is much more better. And since their quality is much more better, first of all, they will have more willing customers, and since they will have more willing customers for a better product, so they can sell per product at a lower rate and still get much more revenue, because there will be more customers willing for that. On the other hand, someone who has 100 different items and egg roll is just one of them, so how specialized would they be if they put all their focus on egg rolls and they don't put much effort in their other items in their menu? Then they will suffer as a result, because they are not they don't specialize in egg rolls. So they have to be average in all of them, so that at least someone eats something else. So for someone who just needs GPU for non-AI purposes, for some other purposes, which is not specific to AI training, so an average performance average performance GPU is all right. But if you are training, cutting edge AI models, and you need best of the best, so you will definitely go to someone who is very specifically knowledge in that area. So that is the market gap that exists, and that is what companies like CoreWeave is trying to solve. I hope it makes some sense. Or
yeah, I think it makes sense.
that's the point of specialization. If you specialize in something, you'll be very good at it, and once people know that you are good at it, you can then to per customer you can reduce your cost. That's what you can do. That's the thing in life in general. Suppose one person who is very good at driving, so he's a driver, and if word spreads around that he's a good driver, then more people will want him, and if more people want him, so he can just charge per person less and still make more money. Suppose who's an average driver who knows that not his demand is not as much as the first driver, so to make the same amount of money he'll have to charge more to his customers. So those are the kind of things that happen. If you specialize in something, you'll get better at it and you'll have more customers. Okay, so that's the idea here. And one unique thing about this company is that this is the first company that has IPO'd since the generative AI boom, which is a pure play AI company. By pure play AI company, what I mean is that its core business is AI, nothing else. There are many other companies, so there are companies who are pure AI companies, but they are not public, and there are public companies whose part they have something to do with AI, but they are not 100% AI companies.
Is this company pure AI? They are mostly focused on the infrastructure side. They are.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. So there is this so here you can think about it as the ecosystem of AI. So they rose to prominence by capitalizing on the generative AI boom. So when I say pure AI companies, I mean is that if they're anywhere in the AI supply chain, AI value chain, they can be considered as an AI company. So what I mean is that if they're providing hardware, or if they're training the models, or if they are providing a product to the consumer that has to do with AI, all of this could be considered as an AI company here. Now coming to this person. This person, he writes a lot of things. Okay, right now I think so. Okay, I haven't read this one, but I have read this semiconductor one, and the data center one as well. So there's a value chain in here. So let me look at this one. So this set of companies that he says is that this is the AI value chain. Now each and every company in this diagram is an AI company, but they play different roles. Now let's look here. These are the companies that provide the hardware. So there's TSMC, there is Broadcom, and all these companies. They provide the semiconductors, and then there's an NVIDIA, AMD. They provide chip designs, and so on. Then we have the software infrastructure, where companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, and right now DeepSeek, and so on. All these companies, they build the models. And now what you mean probably by when I say an AI company is this area.
Yeah.
That actually builds the These are the one that actually builds the model. So technically, they are the core of the other. Everything else is just support stuff to this one. But if you look at the value chain, if this thing didn't exist, this won't exist either. So right now we are talking about the whole value chain. So yes, again, I think so. Even though this article was written quite a while ago, 2024 September, it has CoreWeave here. Alongside the major AI players, major cloud computing, Azure, Google Cloud, and AWS, it also has CoreWeave, which is specialized in this thing. So these models are trained in the, they have the, I would say the OpenAI, what value do they provide? They have the researchers and scientists that came up with the model, the theoretical, and they provide the code of the model. But they need hardware to run the model and the infrastructure, which is provided by these companies. And once they develop the model, then we have the application side, which is all this company, all these products, Copilot, on all the chatbots. So these are all part of the AI value chain. So out of this, when I say pure play AI company, that means its whole business, all its customers has to do something with AI. So for NVIDIA, why is NVIDIA not a pure play AI company? Because it also sells its hardware to for gaming purposes. That has nothing to do with AI. So it's not a pure play AI company. But even though in the recent 2-3 years, it has become the most valuable company because of AI, but it has other aspects to its business as well, not just AI. So that's something to think about, to note down. So yes, the unique thing about CoreWeave is that it's the first pure play AI company to have entered the public market since the generative AI boom. And the thing is that now you'll set the standards for the other companies to come. And I don't know when other companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, or any other company within this value chain, when will they come? So it reminds me of another news. I just remembered it. So Runway AI, they also released some model recently, some video generation model. And the unique thing about this release was that what they mentioned is that it is capable of character consistency throughout different scenes. So what it means is that, at least from a movie making point of view, is that the characters retains the same sort of descriptions throughout different videos. So suppose if you want to create one video clip that has some character in there, and now if you say that, okay, I want the same character in some other video clip with the same physical appearance, that is what it can produce, which I didn't knew that this was not possible earlier. But yeah, now it says that, yeah, that is what is possible. I think, let me see if there is, I saw this video on X. I'm not home. Okay, this video. Now they are mocking Biden with it. Say goodbye to Biden work. So this robot earlier did work like Joe Biden. So that was the joke here. Anyways, where is it? Yeah, this is the runway. It's next gen. It produces 5 to 10 seconds with strong consistency in characters, objects, and locations, and word understanding. And there was another video. I don't. Yeah, this video is also this is not from Runway AI. This is from Meta. I know you can't listen to the audio, but you just look at this. Means I suggest you to look at this video because it looks like these are from a movie, not just the characters but the dialogue that they speak they say. It sounds really like a movie. So right now, by looking at this, it seems like that eventually movies can be made with AI it's alone. I mean, even actors will be out of jobs eventually. And I know it. I think so. It won't be able to. It generates only 5 to 10 seconds of video right now, but since it can generate this kind of videos now, it's only a matter of time before it's able to do something.
Have you tried the image generation by OpenAI intelligence recently?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yes, I have tried. Just I think so. I have generated one image, but yeah, if for me it did that style didn't came out. That Studio Ghibli style, it didn't happen.
Did it give an error? Like it say it cannot do it or give
Yes,
something else?
yeah, it said for a few times it said that it cannot do it. Then I kept doing it. Then finally it did it. So, but yeah, but it was all over the place for a while, which made me wonder: did they deliberately do it, or was it just a mistake? So, it's sometimes it's hard to even think about these things. It's sometimes it does feel like that there are some marketing genius out there who thinks that yes, it will catch on, so let's just do it on purpose. But okay, were you about to say anything?
Okay.
Okay, so did you generate anything?
I tried maybe once or twice, but it did not give me an output. I think initially they released it for free, but maybe so many people were trying to generate images, then server to the clone or something. And he made it a pro only feature. I don't know if it's still a pro feature or not, but at some point he made it a pro only feature.
I think they've said that it's not a pro feature anymore. Yeah, it's not a pro feature right now, I think so. Okay, lastly, and nothing much. Okay, I'll just briefly speak about this one. So Microsoft completed its 50 years on, was it 3rd of April, I think so. So speaking of which, even I think Apple also started in the same year as Microsoft. So they should also
So
be
Apple started later than Microsoft went.
maybe 1 year later. No, not much. Shouldn't be. Yeah, April of 1976. I mean exactly,
So it's not.
almost exactly 1 year younger than Microsoft. So for Microsoft founding year would be April 3rd, 1975. 4th April 1975. Okay, so
There
yeah,
was some conference or something right, regarding this, and there was some protest myself of videos.
yeah, they had this Copilot event where they announced certain new features about Copilot and so on. And during that event, there was this protest by some I don't know, was it an employee or whoever? But it was a Muslim woman. That's what I think. I think she was from Syria, probably, and which also made me. I mean, not related to that, but that conference, Copilot conference, which made me want to look more into their upcoming AI means what's their strategy on AI, because they are, unlike Gemini or the other companies, they are not competing at that level in terms of foundation models. They have Copilot, which is more of an application layer to that, because as we all know that underneath Copilot, OpenAI is running the show. But the thing is that they have this wide range of products and services that they can integrate Copilot into. So that's the difference between Google and Microsoft. Most of the demos that you see in Google's presentations is that whatever they can circle images and so on and so forth. Most of the demos that you see. So just like Google, just like Microsoft, Google also has their own ecosystem of products and services. But they also have their own company, own AI company, or the own AI department within themselves. Unlike Microsoft, they also have this, but they are partnering with OpenAI instead of having their own right now. But I think so just about a year ago, they have hired this person, Mustafa Suleyman, who is the CEO of Microsoft AI. And he was the co-founder of DeepMind along with Demis Hassabis. And since then, I don't know what was his career. Did he go to Anthropic or did he directly come from here? Let me see. So he worked until 2020 with DeepMind. After that, went through certain other places before coming to Microsoft AI. Now the thing about Microsoft AI is this is definitely some department of Microsoft, but what exactly does this department do? I looked into its website, the website of Microsoft AI. Right now, it's just an image, just very marketing kind of website that shows that most of the customers, the consumer side things that they do, things like booking a hotel, booking flights, and so on. But definitely, they want to do something. Microsoft wants to do something about AI. That's something, because that's why they have this whole department, which makes me want to go into this one. I want to talk about Microsoft's earnings over the right now. I mean, Microsoft, they initially started with their operating system. They were known for their operating system. That's how they began. And so initially, I'm not sure what exactly are their numbers, but I can safely say that most of their revenue came from their sales of operating systems. But right now, you can see it, they have diversified it quite a lot, and they are a very different company than the one they started as 50 years ago. So this is from their recent quarter, the most recent quarter earnings. So you can see where is Windows. It's just 7% of their revenue, total revenue. So a company that started as an operating system company, right now it's only 7% of their revenue. So they have diversified quite a lot, and right now the highest portion of their revenue comes from cloud services, from Azure, and the second one is again Microsoft Office. So these two categories totally combines up to 64% of their whole revenue. And then they have some of the other areas. Bing. So they also have 5% from Bing. It's probably the advertisement revenue. Speaking of advertisement revenue, okay, as I think so, quite a few months ago, I talked about Google earnings about 60 or 70% of its revenue from advertisement alone. So this is quite the contrast. So one of the things that Microsoft did very successfully, which Google is still struggling to, is that Google is still struggling to diversify from its original business, original revenue source. Still, they initially monetize their product, their search engine, through showing ads. And when was it established? 1999, I think so. So 26 years later, still 70% of their revenue comes from advertisement only. They have, in terms of products, they have diversified quite a lot, but even if whether it's YouTube or something else, it's all built around ads, their revenue. Whereas if you look at Microsoft here, so a company which started as an operating system company, it now is one of the least. It is a very insignificant part of their whole business. They are nothing like the company that they originally were. So that's the transformation that they went through in the next 50 years. So that's why I was talking about this AI strategy. The thing is that since they have successfully pivoted from their original business, so for the sake of survival and competing, they will surely think about something moving to the future, and since the future is all about, if not all, mostly about AI, at least in software area, so definitely they will do something about AI. So that's probably the strategy behind hiring what was his name? Mustafa Sulaiman. Yeah, Mustafa Sulaiman, and creating this new department or new branch within Microsoft, which is Microsoft AI. So yeah, that was all about this.
Do you know that like one big company is somewhat missing from this AI hype or not hype, but this AI, let's say,
What?
so it's Apple.
What?
Apple.
Yes, exactly. That is what that was at the back of my mind. Because recently there was also this news about Apple postponing its deadline or this release date of Apple Intelligence and so on.
So the rollout of Apple Intelligence are not going around. I think it has been more than 1 year since they announced Apple Intelligence.
Yes.
Most of the major features that they said would come to Apple Intelligence is not there yet.
Yeah.
And they also promised some updated versions to Siri. So that was also not doing.
Yeah. So this goes on to show.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue. I'll say later on.
It's not my opinion, but I saw a video of MPP's day that he was saying, if you look at like Apple, maybe not initially when Steve Jobs was there, they were quite an innovative company, but then also they were never the first to do something. They would wait for something that is actually used worldwide, widely, but it's not the best way to do it, and they would come and just probably give you the best, most efficient way of doing it. So like the iPhone was also not really the first smartphone. There were smartphones before that. They came and did the smartphone the best way. So like every other products, mostly they will not be the first to innovate that way. They will let other companies to experiment and whatever that they will wait, and when they're sure or maybe they can finally prove that they have the best product, they will release it. So one of the things in terms of software also, the calculator app. So that is an app that was not available in iPad for a long time. I think only a year or two back they released the calculator app for the iPad.
Okay.
So their logic was that because people were not able to create the best calculator app for an iPad, we are not releasing a calculator app yet. So only when the AI stuff started coming around, so if you look at the iPad app, the calculator app on iPad, you can maybe like you can write down mathematical notes and stuff and it will solve it. So that is one of the features they've added. So their logic always has been that we don't have to be the first to do something, but we'll be the best to do it. In AI, the thing is they just evolving quite fast. So maybe they are already late.
Yes.
And at this point, I think they can only play catch up instead of innovating.
Yes. And this goes. That's what I was thinking about. This goes on to show that how a company that at some point of time seems untouchable in terms of its success and dominance, how it can go behind in just 1 or 2 years. That's what happened to IBM. IBM is still a good company, but at one time it was the biggest company. It was at the level of what Microsoft is now or Apple is now. That was the stature of IBM. In fact, the way companies like OpenAI and Anthropic are partnering with the giants of today, like Anthropic is partnering with Amazon, OpenAI is partnering with Microsoft. In the same way, once upon a time, companies like Microsoft were partnering with IBM. Microsoft had this small new company, and they were partnering with these established companies like IBM. And 50 years later, IBM is just a company that exists. And while these are they have become the biggest companies. So who knows? In the next 50 years, we will have Microsoft, Google they will be just an average company in the market, and Anthropic and OpenAI will be the untouchable giants at that time. And I don't think it will take even 50 years, maybe even 10, 20 years, which actually it has become too long. But just on a small note, I'll mention something. I think that there was another thing that was mentioned here. I listened to a podcast where they talked about a prediction about AGI in 2 years, in 2027, that will occur. And there were a lot of criticism about this, in the sense that it was not very data driven, means it was mostly opinionated in nature. Yeah, this was the video where they talked about this month by month. So I haven't seen it. I think so this is the document where they they give month by month prediction about how step by step we will reach super intelligence in 2027, by 2027. So this is the yeah, I think it's going to take quite a lot of time. So anyway, even I haven't seen it yet now. I mean, I watched the video, but I haven't read this document. So maybe I'll look into it, and maybe next time I might talk about this. So yeah, that was it from me. Anything else do you have to say? I couldn't hear you.
That's all from me.
Okay, so you can end it.